It is hard to believe, but Samsung, whose smartphones and televisions can now be found in almost every home, began as a small shop selling flour, rice, and noodles, and later even vodka. But how did a small company manage to turn into one of the largest electronics manufacturers in the world? What helped it survive wars, political upheavals, and economic crises? The history of Samsung begins much earlier than most people think. It hides in the mist of time, starting with ambition and determination rooted in pre-war Korea. The path of the huge corporation that today stands among global technology giants began in 1938 when Lee Byung-chul founded a small trading company that dealt in local goods and imported cheeses, noodles, and dried fish. Street stalls became the starting point, with the German market seeming far away and almost unreachable. The young company was taking its first steps, aiming to build mutual trust and a reputation as a reliable partner. But success rarely comes easily. After the Korean War, in a devastated and conflict-torn society, Lee's small company had to start from scratch. The business empire they were building absorbed the spirit of recovery, the flame of struggle, and the dream of national leadership. Not only industrial, but also cultural. By the 1960s, Samsung had already engaged in exporting fish, then moved to close cooperation with the government, successfully passing through industrial reforms and making a significant contribution to the country's economic growth. This transition from trade to industry was marked by the establishment of the first factories, semiconductor plants, and electronics production facilities. By the 1980s, Samsung had already entered the home appliance market, with its televisions and refrigerators gaining a reputation for being reliable yet affordable. And then, after decades of development, the company embodied the power of time, the ability to adapt, and the chameleon-like skill to adjust to a rapidly changing world. Leaving a trail of innovation behind, Samsung made a decisive breakthrough in the 1990s and 2000s. It launched its mobile business, expanded into the US and European markets. Then came the Galaxy mobile phones, OLED displays, and semiconductors, in which Samsung surged far ahead of competitors, setting the pace for the industry. Within this rise to the global elite, its own secrets were forming. Family-driven, power-driven, and for outsiders, deceptively glossy snapshots of corporate success. The Lee family, founders and owners of Samsung, have always been in the spotlight, and their story is steeped in drama. When Lee Byung-chul handed over the reins to his sons, there were scenes worthy of the big screen: quarrels between brothers, inheritance battles, compromises, and unexpected alliances. It is a world where behind directives and strategic decisions lie deeply human stories of jealousy, pride, the bitterness of loss, and the immense responsibility for a legacy that had grown to the size of an entire nation. The transition of power to Lee Jae-yong, who inherited the legacy from his father Lee Kun-hee. After the death of the head of Samsung, the screens of South Korea were filled with headlines: a struggle for power, accusations of bribery, arrests, and court proceedings. What happened between the role of the heir, the political intrigues, and the corporate wars? Where does loyalty lie? With the family, the corporation, or the state? This is not just a business conflict. It is a battle for control over oceans of innovation, for the strategic importance of Samsung to the country and its future. During these storms, Samsung tried to maintain the face of a giant, a leader of the industry. Venture investments, rapid growth in the field of artificial intelligence, and the expansion of chip production where Samsung aimed to become the world's leading player, all this required high speed, strategic clarity, and managerial flexibility. Lee appeared publicly in the media, but the real power belonged to those behind the scenes: trusted advisors, influential businessmen, and political networks woven through the history of the Republic of Korea. In the 2020s, Samsung continues to move the world forward, with its steps watched on every continent. The company leads in the development of foldable smartphones, 5G networks, and global communications infrastructure. As of 2024, Samsung's annual revenue exceeded $240 billion, ranking among the highest figures in the global technology industry. This level of revenue confirms that the corporation maintains its role as one of the key players in the world of electronics and semiconductors. But behind the shine of innovation remains the calculated control and power of those at the helm. Young heirs, long-standing educational traditions, and strong alliances with universities and research centers create the foundation for future breakthroughs. Yet the key mystery remains: who will lead the company next? Is hereditary control justified in the context of global business and technological revolution? From this comes the central question: who will determine Samsung's future path? the family, the state, the market, or the unshakable spirit of innovation. Today, Samsung remains a symbol of possibility, a leap from post-war poverty to global leadership. But the story continues, and its next act keeps in suspense everyone who follows not only technology, but also the fate of the people capable of changing the world.